Welcome to Experience 50, Digits Part 2, the List Contacts page. We're going to extend our digits to list our contacts that we have. And before you do this, I suggest you watch the screencast before you try it the first time. It's really difficult to find suitable resources to read prior to doing the WOD. Second, be sure to have watched and taken a look at the merging and branching in GitHub Desktop. You'll create branches, you'll merge them back in, so this is something you need to get proficient at, practice it. There's also Meteor Guide has a lot of readings that help you with developing in Meteor. So we want to merge our landing branch back into main. So to do that, let me make sure you're in main and then go into branch, merge into the current branch, and you'll pick your landing page. I've already done it, so I can't create it because it's already in main, but you would do that, you would commit it, create a merge commit, and then you would push that change to main up. So now we have the main, and notice we're on main and we're on main. So we have the changes from our landing page, so our application should have the landing page. And so we want to check to see that Meteor npm run start. Gets us our application with our new landing page. And we're still in main, so we're in the main branch. So we want to check on that. So we are. Here's main, we're on a landing page. We're good to go. We're logged in as John. Let's stay logged in, just because we're going to use that for this list contacts. Notice we've got our standard add stuff, list stuff. That's the standard template. We're going to be modifying that right today. So we want to start the timer. Start my timer. We're going to create a branch called list contacts page 1. I already did this once already, so I'm going to create a new branch called list contacts page 2. You'll be doing this too, because you'll do this exercise twice. Create the branch. We publish the branch to get it up onto GitHub. That makes sure that everything that's on GitHub. We're running start. We want to make sure that we're in our branch, not main. That's exactly what we want to see. Now, we want to create a list contacts page. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy list stuff and make it say list contacts. So we go to pages, list stuff, Command C or Control C, Control V, contacts. Okay. So this is our list contacts. We want to select that. Function or Shift F6 to rename contacts. We're going to refactor it. We're going to see that there's one reference in this file, so I do want to do the refactor. So I got my list contacts. I then want change the H2 to be list contacts. I don't need my table anymore. I also don't need this column to be 7 wide. I'm just going to make it all the way across the screen. Now I'm no longer using stuffs, so I can get rid of the stuffs. And now I'm going to check to see what errors I have by hitting F2. I no longer use my table. I don't use stuff item. Okay, save. Okay, got my thing. Rename, did that, remove the code to render. Now in app.jx, or app imports UI layouts app.js, specify list context instead of list stuff. So in app.js, I don't want the list path to go to list stuff. I want it to go to list contacts. I now don't need the import of list stuff because I'm not referring to it anymore. So now if I go to the list path or /list, I'll get my list contacts page. And now we update the navbar, app imports UI components navbar, to change the link name, not the link name, but the name from list stuff to list contacts. So we go into the navbar. We don't want list stuff. We want list contacts. And save it. Now if we log in as John, we can see our changes. That's why I left it logged in as John. So I'm logged in as John. I see my list contacts. My add stuff and digits. So if I go, I should go to my list contacts page, and I get my list contacts page. And the WAD, or the practice WAD, talks about updating the highlight text, but I did that in the previous WAD by making sure that the body navbar, BS navbar active color, that's the color that styles the active navbar, and I set it to be our highlight text, so it's that khaki color. So you can see that since we're on the list contacts page, we're highlighting that we're on the list contacts by making this khaki. You could change that if you wanted to some other value, but it's nice, so we don't need to do that in here. So now we want to create some sample data for our contacts. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to put it in the list contacts class here. Later on, we are going to change the way we get our contacts to pulling them out of a collection, but for right now, we're just going to grab them out of this array. And my formatter is not quite up to date because it gave me the wrong number of indent for these fields. So now I have one ESLint saying I'm not using contacts, which is actually correct because I haven't used them yet. So now we want to create a card component that holds the data for each contact. So we're going to copy stuff item and call it contact. So we want to copy stuff item and call it contact. So it's not going to be a TR. Well, let's change that. So let's do a Shift F6 and refactor. And then we've got two references. We got stuff item here that's going to change, and we got stuff item here and we want to do the refactor. And so the prop types, well, we're not going to pass in stuff. We're going to call it a contact. And it's not stuff, it's a contact. And it's going to have the properties first name, last name, address, image, and description. So first name, Command D to duplicate, last name, what was the last name, address, duplicate, image, duplicate, description. Doesn't have a quantity, doesn't have a condition, and I'm going to comment this out because when we pull a contact out of the collection, it will have an ID field, but for right now, since we're using the array, it doesn't have an underscore ID array property. We could add one if we wanted to, but there's no reason to do that, so we're not going to need to do that. Okay, so I want this to be a card, and it is from the React Bootstrap. That's exactly what I want. I don't need any of this stuff. So now I don't have the link anymore, so I can get rid of that import. And so now we want to take a look at what a card has. So a card, here's a basic example, has a big image across the top of the thing. We don't want to do that because that's a little, we want a smaller image. We want to basically have a small image, the person's first and last name, their address, and then a description in the body. So we're going to create a card with a, and we don't need the we don't need the image, but we want a header. So we're going to want to have a card image that's around 75 pixels wide. So in the card header, we're going to have an image, and we're doing it from React Bootstrap, not the icons. Source is equal to contact.image, and we want its width to be about 75 pixels, and we want space. And then we want to have a card title with the contact first name and the contact last name. So notice I've got to put the curly braces around the JavaScript stuff. So I do need to have, to refer to this JavaScript contact, I need the curly braces to tell React that I'm actually talking about a JavaScript variable, const, or parameter. And I want a card subtitle that has the description, the address. And because I've made the prop types, IntelliJ is smart enough to know what kinds of things are in the contact. And then after the header, I want a card body. And in the card body, I have a card text that's going to have the contact description. And so now I've got my card, so I can now create a card for each of the contacts in my list contacts. So I'll do that down here. And I'll create another row. Let's see. So we want to have list contacts, render the contacts in a grid cards. So let's take a look at that. And I think I didn't get the right link. So it's grid cards. So it's a row, and then I say how many cards do I want at what size? And I want to have a gutter so that it puts some space around the cards. So I want to have a row, and at extra small I want one card. At medium I'll say 2 cards, and large I'll say 3 cards because that's all the cards we have. Last name is a gutter 4 to get a fairly large gutter around the cards. And now I want to have a column and then the cards on the inside. So I can do, again, I need to put it in curly braces because this is now JavaScript, back to JavaScript, so I can say contacts.map, pass in a contact, and I want the index so that I know which contact I'm looping over. And this arrow function, converting the array of contacts into something. So I'm going to turn it into a column. Oops, if I can type. A call that has a key, because we need to have unique keys for multiple things. And this is generally bad React style to use the index for the key. We should use something that's more unique, because if we had multiple copies of this loop, we'd have index 0, index 1, and the keys would not be unique. But for now, we don't have to worry about that. And then we want to create a contact, and the contact is going to be contact. And then we want to close our contact. And that, let's save it. And I don't have any errors. So let's see what it looks like. So it's not, they're not the same height, because they're now just the height of the amount of stuff I need, or the stuff that the card fills up. So I want it to actually have a height, and this is actually a typo here. I want to add the class height 100, which says use up the whole space. So in my contact, this card should have a class name of H, and you can see where the typo said 110, but it should be 100. And then we go back. And so now, by saying that it's 100, the card will fill the entire space, and the row is set to be as tall as the tallest card. And so that's looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. So now let's check for some ESLint errors. Kill this. npm run lint. No lint errors. Excellent. Okay. Stop my meteor. Stop my timer. 17:15. Add the comment, or the commit message. in 17 minutes. Commit. Push origin to get it up onto GitHub. I should check just in case. Main, list contacts page 2, app, imports, UI, components, got my contact, pages, list contacts, looks good. What else do I need? And then do this a second time, just like I just did it the second time, and commit your changes, and you should do it within 30 minutes. You may want to do it 3 or 4 times to practice. Hope this is helpful. We can create our contacts. We're not using the collections yet, but we're just using that array. So thank you for your attention.